more than 50 subscriptions from all over the world. uh, Actually speaking, the women are really looking for the betterment of environment and betterment of nature, and this kind of forums will inspire the other women to protect our nature. And that is what, and especially the interaction between the women who are working for nature is our mandate to form this group. And I really appreciate many women are interested. They want to give the knowledge to the common people. Like we have one member from oceans, and they are doing a very good job for ocean biodiversity. But not only it is not only for them, but they want to create a group who can survive and who can give a knowledge bank for the common people, because common people only knows ocean is only for the fun, for getting the seashells, and for having a soothing means relaxed moments on the sea and on the ocean. But there is a lot many things to for the protecting the ocean, and a lot many things we can learn from that ocean biodiversity. So this women group is every day it is becoming a stronger, and the women are registering from every corner of the world. So I really appreciate who are registered for the GWNN, for the network of nature. And I appreciate the word of mouth will spread this women initiative is more stronger. So with that, I again welcome Manasi for your wonderful speech, and I'll stop here. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Veena, for inviting me here, and it's a pleasure to accept that invitation. So, because I can share few things with all of you. So, with this background that we have been working in this ecological management field since last 22 years now. And we have been working with private landowners mainly to bring about a good change on their land, to initiate some conservation and restoration activities on their land while they are developing their land in variety of ways. So when we start doing this, when we start doing a dialogue with clients, and when they feel the need that they want to develop their land in tune with nature, so we start creating some implementable solutions for them. So I will take you through few of our projects and how we have been doing that on various land parcels through this presentation. Can everybody see my screen?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
So when we go outside the city limits on any road or in various areas, what we see today is something like this. So this slide shows a representation of what is happening around us. Like here, there is a road that is passing through a grassland. Actually, this is the area which is a rocky outcrop, a very special ecosystem in Western Ghats. Then this is Konkan area where you can see a lot of land moving activities going on just for the plot development. So plot development is something for the city dwellers, and they want to go in nature and enjoy there and have their homes there. So this is what is happening. So in the background, if you see, there is good amount of forest, but in the front, it is hardly can be seen and all soil is exposed. Even here, this is in Sahyadri again. Like similar picture can be seen around Pune, in Lonavala, in Khandala. You name the place in Sahyadri and you will see something like this, which is happening there. And if you observe here, the soil which is getting dislodged or which is getting uh, moved out of this area will just go away from this area as a part of erosional processes when the rain starts. And even during the drier months, this soil gets deposited onto the vegetation which is surrounding, or it affects the area or in the ecosystem in a very negative way. In this photo, you can see a quarry which is which is a favorite stone for everyone, I would say, which is laterite. So this is laterite quarrying, and this is what happens when a lot of stone is excavated from here. And if you have observed, this stone is now being used in variety of ways in cities, in areas where the laterite actually doesn't exist. So earlier it was okay to use laterite because it was being used locally only for the local demands. But now it is being transported beyond the radius of 50 kilometers, 100 kilometers towards cities and all the areas, because it's a easier material for construction, and also it becomes little cost effective to use laterite. So there are variety of drivers which actually uh, like ask people to do these activities. So we call them as drivers of change. And what are they? It could be aspiration, it could be something which is a very on a superficial line, which is love for nature, but actually unknowingly we are harming it when we go in the company of nature to enjoy it, be it in a resort or in a farmhouse. So we have been trying to work with these private landowners who are city dwellers but have purchased land outside the city limits in countryside, and are trying to do some activities on that land. So while doing that activity, what could be various ways to restore nature, to conserve biodiversity, to know it and make some awareness about whatever work that is being done on the land. So these are some of the principles that we follow while we start working on the land. So the first is like understanding ecological character of land and the surrounding area. Then second is biodiversity profiling, because for a common man, it like 10 different plants will be just green. So the persons can't associate with different shades of green, or they don't know names of it. They don't know uses of various plants. So what we try to do is we create a biodiversity profile of any land, so that we know what exists on the land in terms of plants and what are its association with the animals. So animals could be as small as ants or bees or butterflies, birds, or even larger mammals. So there will be a diversity of flora and fauna that is present on the land. So what we do is we try to understand the existing setup of the land. Then third part is planning that considers land as a part of entire landscape. So a land is not a single unit, but it is connected with its surroundings. So there could be a stream that is flowing through the land, which is originating somewhere else beyond the land boundary. Or there could be wind that flows through the land, which brings in some seeds. So there are a variety of ways in which the land is connected to the surrounding area. Then there is a technical exercise called zoning to have a holistic view, that there will be various zones that will be proposed. Then there is treatment for special features and special biodiversity. Like if there is a spring, so which says that the groundwater aquifer is very strong there. So we need to actually protect that spring from developmental activities. We need to protect its spring shade from where it is getting recharged. So what could be the special treatment for these areas? Then restoration of ecosystem, like if it is a grassland, or if it is a semi-evergreen forest or a desert, or say a mountainous ecosystem, then how to restore all the elements of that ecosystem back into shape on that particular piece of land. Then plantation plan with appropriate natives. So native plants will vary across India. So there will be different parts in plants in Maharashtra, plants in Kanyakumari will be different, whereas in Himalayas there will be a different set of biodiversity together. So this is very important, that plantation plan with appropriate natives. And the last is eco garden design. So the area which are just around us, which are around structures. So people are very fond of having some aesthetical value to that area. But while giving that aesthetics to the area, we always forget that it is a part of that landscape. So we need to have that very logically and responsibility. So that we call as eco garden design, and which actually in a smaller way it also provides a refuge for local wildlife. So And then there are variety of scales of development. So like there will be large developments like townships or industrial areas like MIDCs, then hill stations like Mahabaleshwar, Matheran, or the upcoming or new hill stations recently developed like Ambi Valley, then Lavasa. Then in medium scale, there could be resorts or farmhouse schemes or industries. So every project will have its own requirements of handling, even own requirements of area allocation, land uses, all those things. So we need to understand all these factors. Then small could be the individual farmhouses like half acre, 1 acre, or farmlands that are purchased for farming purposes. Like it could be 5 acres, 10 acres, or even small bungalows which are in the countryside, which are being developed by people just as weekend homes maybe. So when we say about these developments and the scales, so where it is happening, so that is also very crucial to know that if we are talking about these four various zones. So one is the city actually, which is where the open space is very low. So we don't have much open space available for all these activities. But as you go towards fringes of the city, where there are like which are under maybe have been purchased or which are been proposed for development, there have been some roads that are upcoming up, there could be some dams that are planned, and there could be also some farmlands in these fringes. So these are the fringe areas which are actually buffering the countryside and the city. Then we have this huge proportion of countryside where you have the mainly the villages and their surrounding areas where the construction is actually low and open spaces are more. Like in cities, we have totally opposite. The construction is more and open spaces are less. But in countryside, that is totally have a different proportion. And then the natural areas like the protected areas or the sanctuaries and national parks, which are to be kept for nature. So these are the natural areas. So which is again in a small percentage. So as we see here that the countryside has a larger percentage, and that is why we need to act very responsibility in that zone, so that we don't harm the environment while developing any project in that area. So I will go through some of the case studies that we have worked on so far. So this is in Ladakh, and this is the Sabu village just outside Leh. And if you see this, how we look at the land and the surroundings. So this is the catchment of Sabu, then these are the streams, this is the elevation. And in the surrounding area, if you know that like Ladakh is a cold desert, so you can hardly see any green color. So all the colors here are either gray, but mainly of rock types, various rock types. And in this area, the monsoon or the rainfall is very low. There is precipitation in terms of snow, but the rains are hardly any. But there have been some cases that there have been flash floods for 2 to 3 times in 10 years. And then this village got impacted with this flash flood, which actually the cloudburst happened here, and the flooding got all the sediments and all those things that got flown into the village, its agriculture land, and there was a lot of damage. So we had looked at all this area to have some damage control exercise for that entire area. So we did propose a few things, but this is how we look at the ecology and the surroundings. So as you see in the adjacent catchments, these are very linear catchments. So so the drainage pattern is different. Then they are very narrow catchments because the rainfall is hardly any. Whereas in our area, we have typical round shaped, leaf shaped catchments. So all these things are important to note so that we understand what all activities can be proposed for any project. Then coming to a different scale. So this is a project in Yavatmal. You can see a site which is marked here, and this is the urban areas. But here it is very interesting to see that it is a mosaic of various things that we can see. So these are green patches which are actually reserve forests. So there are few small reserve forests here and there. Then there are these small green, fluorescent green patches, which actually had some plantation, but they are privately owned. Then there are these fields, then there are water bodies. And we could see some of these connecting corridors, like these are field hedges actually. And these field hedges were covered with all tree plantations. So they can act as good corridor for faunal movement. So they are very important to for the movement of fauna, like birds or even small mammals. Because if one animal wants to cross over from this patch to this patch, then they need some special arrangement of trees or some special habitats to cross over. So that is why we did some exercise on this scale, that how our site planning can respond to this various corridors and patches that are present in a landscape. So here what we call it as a landscape level reading. So we understand how entire landscape is divided into various vegetation classes. Then here, like the next stage could be physical structures. Now, this project was near Murbad, which is again a regionally Konkan or coastal belt, and where you can see some moist deciduous vegetation. And when we visited the site, we and did some desk research and some referencing. If you can see where my pointer is moving, these are dikes, which is the geological feature. So these are some straight lines, continuous lines, which can be seen through either Google Earth, which is now available very easily, but earlier it was all marked on topo sheets, on either topo sheets or in the geological maps of that site. And these dikes are very important geological features, and wherein they also act as corridors of water or storages of water. So they are important as special features on the land. So that is why in the master plan, we had marked them and we categorically planned to have nothing on those dikes. So this development, like this area is some 70 acres, and it was proposed to have uh, a farmhouse plotting scheme here. So when we started doing those plots and all those things, planning that, so we earmarked these areas as open spaces with continuous open spaces. So there was hardly any road crossings that were planned through these areas. And this is how we responded to the local physical structure that was present on the site. So we could save this special geological feature on the site itself. Then next comes the strata. So how the strata is, whether it is rocky soil or murum or something else. So here, which is a project in Sahyadri in Varadagaon catchment, we could see that during monsoon. Now this was a phenomena which was specially seen during monsoon. So during monsoon, this entire area was becoming waterlogged, and there were springs that were oozing through the ground, and which was not at all visible in the summer season. So that is why we do seasonal assessment of the land. Like for entire year, we will keep on visiting the land and keep observing how the land changes or it responds to the change of seasons. So then when we saw this, then it was not a good idea to plan any development in those areas. These were very small patches where this spatial character was seen. So we earmarked them as open spaces in the farmers plotting scheme plan, entire master plan. Then next is we do biodiversity analysis, and that too in very detailed state. So if we see here, there are various land uses, like there is a riparian zone, there is old growth tree area, then there is a grassland, there is a shrubby vegetation area, there is agriculture. So all these areas are being used differently, and then these areas will have its corresponding biodiversity. So when you have, like we call this as uh, classifying the area based on biodiversity profile and various features on the land. And after analyzing this, we generally create a eco map, so that we can present this to the client and show them how their land is actually. So this is the eco map that we developed for this land parcel of 40 acres, which is very near to Pune in Bhugav actually. So then we told them that this is the riparian zone, this is agriculture zone. Here you can see some grasslands. Then there are some food plants for birds, which are like these red dots, which are special habitats for some special fauna. Then this is one area where you can see some moderate canopy and dry deciduous forest, and where we could see that there was nesting of birds and bird hives. So then when a development is planned of say some a small township or if high-riser buildings are coming in, then which areas needs to be saved from that development is what we tell them. And that exercise we do in zoning. So before that, we also earmark what are special features. Now, this development, so this was a proposed hill station, which is spread over almost 6,000 acres. So that's a huge area. And then when we did a basic analysis and biodiversity survey, we could spot these special features like there are springs, then moist areas with food plants, then habitats for special species. And then we incorporated this layer eventually into the proposed zoning so that we can conserve all these special habitats. So these are some large scale area development projects that are happening in and around our cities. So this is again one of the projects in Yavatmal, which is over 100 acres. And when we started doing a detailed plan for this land, so you can see these are the roads and we planned some avenues across the roads. So that's because we wanted to create corridors for the fauna to cross over this land. Now, if we don't plan this land responsibly, then it becomes a hindrance for this movement of fauna, a movement of maybe small mammals or birds or even bees, butterflies. So we should not do that. So we should identify what their movement patterns are, and we should have these various corridors and patch and stepping stone matrix throughout the land so that we don't like mess up with their movements. So these were the corridors that were planned, like avenue. We have given a good amount of avenue to the roads so that when it becomes a nice canopy covered road, that can also act as a stepping stone for various birds. So these are the possible corridors. Then there are few locations where wetlands were planned. Then these are the streams, again streams and its riparian corridors were planned properly. Then the even the field edges were planned with some kind of tree hedges. Then the roads were considered. So these are few things that were considered at this scale. So I'm giving you various planning features that we consider when we start planning for any land. Then this is one of the analysis that we do when we start planning. So this is the vegetation analysis. Now this lake, which is an Argoli lake, and we had prepared a plan for its conservation. This is situated near Dapoli, which is again a Konkan, like coastal area. And here, then when we did the vegetation analysis, we could see that there are variety of vegetation characters or classification like this, like dense canopy, then shrubby clusters. There were some open areas, there were regenerating patches. So all of these were marked, and then we proposed plantation for phase one in these areas where you can see there was these were open areas and we wanted to safeguard this lake, so we had proposed a lot of plantation in this area, like not only plantation but restoration, plantation, seed dispersal, variety of activities were planned, even soil erosion control was planned. So there were various strategies that were given for these areas, like open spaces were treated with plantation, then shrubby areas were treated with protection, then the dense canopy areas were treated with special planting trees. So all these things we will be able to propose once we know the character of entire land, and that is how we go ahead. So here, to conclude this side, the area under proposed plantation was around 12 acres. So then we do the detailed plantation planning for those 12 acres. And this is a proposed zoning that we had worked on in one land in again in Lonavala area. So this is the plantation zone, this is support facility and private area, then this is the tourism zone, and this is the conservation zone. So we make it a point to allocate some area as conservation and restoration zone for any project. So it depends on what is the proposed land use for that project. So for resorts or for farmhouses, it's easier to allocate almost 50% of the land as conservation zone. So in the conservation zone, then it is planned to have all the conservation activities, and that area is totally like devoted for the wildlife. So no human land use is planned in that area. So we ask them that don't go into that area for with any kind of machine or construction or anything, but that area is just for supporting the local wildlife or whatever local biodiversity is. And then depending on the existing land profile, we propose what could be different activities for that area. Like it could be restoration activities, plantation activities, or just protection. So there could be these three strategies that we will propose for this conservation zone. And then as per these different zones, there could be different plantation themes. Like for plantation zone, then the theme could be say horticulture plantation, from where you can extract something. So it is for humans. Then this yellow zone would have more of construction activity, while this plantation zone will have very low construction activity. So this is how we plan different zones ahead of the eco map that we create. Then sometimes we also do a total master plan. Now this is in the Varasgaon catchment area. This is the backwater as you see. And here, if you see, these are the open spaces that we had allocated. Considering the strata there, like I shared that photo with you, was from this same project, where we could see that in monsoon season, there was subsurface flows that were coming up. And then there were this area was having a very special IUCN red listed species, and that is called as Cythocline lutea, which is a very small tiny herb having yellow flowers. And you can see those flowers, or it's flowering only during September October season. So if you miss that season, then you will hardly know that such plant exists here. So when we did monthly assessments for this area, then we could see that there were patches of Cythocline lutea, and then we conserved those patches and demarcated them as open spaces in this plotting development. Now here you can also observe that these plots are not square plots, though they are 1 acre plots. So size wise, they are perfectly same to each other, but they are not square shaped. And why they are not square shaped? Because they are responding to the existing land features. Like if there is a bund that is existing, or there is a tree hedge that is present on the land, or if the contours doesn't permit to have a square shape, then we had this all different shaped plots as per the land features. Then you can see these open spaces which are having more tree clusters. So these were very steep sloping areas. And being steep sloping areas, it is not good or advised to have any development activity, because that will initiate a lot of erosion in this hilly terrain. So in the hilly terrain, you need to be very cautious about using machines. So before taking any JCB to the hilly terrain, you need to understand why you are taking it, what scale you are looking at, and what damage it may cause to the surrounding and to your pocket also. Because once you take any excavating machine there, it creates like no return landscapes in these hilly areas. So it's a ecological disaster, we can say. So that is why we have earmarked these steep slopes as open spaces and need to be conserved. So these are all conservation and biodiversity enhancement areas. Then here you can actually see what is our countryside, what does our countryside look like. This is a plot which is 1 acre. but just surrounding the plot, you can see how it is degraded. So you can see hardly any large trees are present there. But earlier, this entire area must have been full with all these large trees, but that's not the case today. Or in the background, you can see there is a road that is going up, and being hilly terrain, how the soil erosion has been initiated by that road. And this is a very dangerous situation in terms of safety also and in terms of eroding hills. But here we had only 1 acre to treat, so that is why we treated it with this a very simple but different land use. That it had a house and surrounding areas with all usable or human use plants, while this area has a mixed plantation, so that you can, and few ponds for percolation and for gathering the extra rainwater. And these were some of the terraces. So we had a mixed land use, and of course a dry fence and live hedge all along its boundary. So here also we suggest to people that we should not use any barbed wire fence or a huge tall compound wall of say concrete and stones or chain links and all those things, but use the local materials, the dry fence which is of thorns, then the live hedge which actually looks green when it grows. So it will have a nice green compound when the live hedge grows. So these are some of the activities that are proposed, which are again in tune with the local conditions, which are time-tested technologies that have been used in those areas. Then this is one of the again one land use pattern example. So here we can see that there is a house that is planned, then there are few garden areas, and this is one of the forest area. So this is 1 acre plot, and how it is divided, that half of the area, that is 0.5 acres, half acre, is devoted just for the for growing the forest. And here we have given account also, like total number of species proposed and planted here are almost 56. So that's a huge number. Again, here we consider the diversity of species should be higher. It should be all native trees that should be planted. And in this half acre, almost 350 trees were planted. Then this is a buffer zone, which we call as a shrubby habitat, which is over zero point 0.1 acre, and where we had planted almost 250 shrubs, but which is acting as a buffer. So when you see from this house, you can see this forest, and this is a buffer zone where all the like butterfly attracting and bird attracting shrub species were planted. So this was a little aesthetically important area for the farmhouse plot owners. And then as you go near the road, and as the approach is through this area for the house, this is the manicured area that we had planned based on the eco garden design. So it is planned with aesthetics, but it considers all the ecological design principles. So like we use maximum native plants, then those shrubs which attract maybe butterflies, maybe insects, birds, then having some bird baths there, or having few areas as just as a uh, maybe ramped earth areas instead of lawn, then a very small lawn portion, then having some water bodies in these areas. So these are some of the features that we plan in the eco garden. Then this is again a similar case where this is half acre of land, where again half of the land is kept for growing a native forest, and a very small house which is planned. But importantly, in this area, uh, other than house, not a single piece of cement or tile was used. So this entire landscaping uses all the natural techniques or all the natural materials. Like if you see here, even the house was constructed with bamboo. So there was no concrete or RCC structure was created, but it was just a simple moderate bamboo design. And outside also, like this is a area which we call as angan, which was rammed earth. then using some arrangement of stones, ponds like this, some plant hedges. So we are creating different designs in the garden, which will actually act as small habitats for variety of non-human beings. So here we consider all the requirements of non-human beings than giving a priority for us, actually, the humans. Then this is one of the industrial campus where we worked on. Now, this was in Chakan. So as all of you know that Chakan is an area which is drought prone. Hardly any water resources are there. All the water that was supplied to these areas was through tankers. And that is why we thought of giving the design a base of xerophytic landscape. So here the lawn areas are reduced and they have been used with variety of features. So here you can see that these rounds are the lawn areas, and each and every round will have a different feature, like there will be a pond, a tree, or a shrub. So all these things, and even these areas, they are all percolating areas. So barring this area, which is actually the vehicle movement area where you can't have percolating surfaces, but here all the surfaces are percolating. So we are not having any cement or impervious materials here, which will stop water from going in the or recharging the ground actually. So whatever rainfall that falls here will just get absorbed into the ground. So these kind of things are actually needed in our all the drier areas and all the semi-arid areas. Even in areas where you have a lot of water like Pune, lawn is not a correct land use for our gardens. So that is why we are using different techniques where you can have like permanent greenery which is less watered, so which requires watering just during the establishment of 2 3 years, and then you don't need any watering for the trees or the shrubs which are hardy shrubs. So this is how we can look at any kind of industrial campuses. Now this, like there are huge campuses, like there are acres of land under industries. So if they are planned with this perspective, with this eco-design perspective, then many areas can turn into actually some ecological refuges. So which is required to be done, because otherwise if you go to these industrial areas like mainly around Pune city and around cities like Chakan or even Pirangut, you can hardly see any open spaces which are properly planned. So having them with a proper thought is very important. And then these are some of the things that we keep on integrating at various scales. So this is fish ladder. So like if you see here, there is a ladder like thing, and this is a bund. So this bund is a very small bund which is being developed by organization called BIOF. So BIOF works in watershed development works, and they will have different structures for the watershed around any village. So while they treat their watersheds, they have these small bunds which are installed in the streams, and these are in-stream bunds, very small, like 2 meter height bunds are being installed, but these are hindrance for the fish movement. Like when the stream starts flowing, there is a upward movement of fish. Like the fishes will go against the flow to lay their eggs in the upper reaches where they have oxygenated water. So when they go against the water flow, they can't jump through this wall. So it's very difficult for them to cross a 2 meter high wall when the fish size is just this small. So that is why you need to give them some assistance, which is mimicking the stream. So like here, if you see in the lower photo, we have tried to mimic a stream here. So there are broad steps which are.
Okay.
Mute your mic, please. Yeah, thanks. So these are broad steps from where the fishes can go over. So these fish ladders were installed and designed by us. And we could see that these ladders were actually used by fishes during monsoon season. Like when there is torrential monsoon, then the fishes will go upstream and at the fag end of monsoon, their hatchlings will come down with the flow and they will follow this path. So we could see that there were some women who were sitting on these ladders with their saris and they were actually catching the fish. So they said that now fishes are going on these ladders. So that was actually a thing that we could experience, that these ladders were being used. So these are various things that can be integrated along with the development activities. Now, because this is for local people, but it is also hampering their local lifestyle, because these areas, these were in the tribal belt of Nashik. So there they are heavily dependent on fishing. So their majority part of diet during monsoons is from fish. And if you have these bunds, then the life cycle of fishes gets disrupted. So to assist and to keep the life cycle and their movement uh, without any hindrance, we had designed this. So these are very small techniques that you need to think of, and you can think of beyond this, like during development, how we can save soil, how can we do transplantation, how can we save orchids maybe from fallen trees or from a road widening project. So there could be a variety of ways in which you can actually assist the nature while you are doing any kind of development in the countryside. So yeah, so these were few of the examples that we have been working so far since last 22 years. And so I will stop here. And if you want to ask anything, we can have some 5 minutes of discussion.
Yes, thank you, ma'am. It's time for our question and answer sessions. So participants, you can ask the question one by one by unmuting yourself.
uh, before going ahead, I think people must be thinking about what to ask, because Manasi's presentation was very self-explanatory, and I think it's very interesting also with what they are working. I just wanted to introduce two people. They are our partners. From one is from Cameroon, Jane Felix, and another is I think he's spectating on YouTube. He is also Jean Paul. So they are, one is from DRC, Congo, and John Felix is from Cameroon. So they are also interested, means the staff of their organization are interested, lady staff also. We are going to register them during short time. And they must be enjoyed today's talk, Manasi. So I welcome John and Jean. Both of you are our good partners, and I think we will take some collaborative efforts and some collaborative projects ahead. Thank you, John.
Yes, anyone?
Hello. Hello.
Yes, sir, we can hear you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Denita, for all. I'm Jean-Félix from Cameroon. I'm coordinator of the environmental organization Amis de la Planète, Friends of the Planet is the translation. I'm very happy to assist in this meeting. I think that I see a new experience that we have in your countries, in your, I think that we can share together this experience in Africa, because Africa has a very, very problem about the climate change. We need your experience to continue to ameliorate the condition, a level of ecology in Cameroon, but in Africa. We talk about of Africa because my dear friend of Congo, we are neighbor. Our countries is our neighbors. Is we have in Africa in our countries, we can see the forest, the forest. We call this equatorial forest. We have many problems. I think that your experience can help us to share more ideas for all. In my countries, I'm the francophone. Is the reason that my English is not good, but uh, I'm very happy. Thank you for your invitation. You can continue. See if I have one question, I can talk. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, John. It's nice to hear you, and your English is very good. Don't worry. We can understand.
Okay.
Uh, yeah, Manasi, this is Anuja. I'm calling from, hi there. I work in Haritpath Private Limited. It's a plantation agency. And I heard your whole session. It was good. Actually, I understood the every minute points of the ecology. I have a question that you have many projects you have handled, correct? So far, how many risks, means high risk and challenges you have faced? Because it depends on the weather conditions, correct? So each area you have mentioned, it was different weather-wise. So what challenges and what risks you have faced so far? So can you please, in brief, you can tell us about that?
Yeah, sure. So as you observe that all the projects or majority of our projects are from different bioclimatic zones. So it has its own setting. So we go with the climate basically. So we first understand what the region is and then plan accordingly. So that basically reduces all the challenges, because if you go with the nature, if you understand nature and try to integrate its requirements, its characters into your planning, then you reduce your risks actually. So because then you don't fail in plantations, you don't fail in your soil erosion techniques. If you understand the land well, if you understand how the flows are, how the rainfall is, like whenever we do any activity for soil erosion control, like for say example bunding or doing some stream restoration activities, then we understand from the local people how the streams are behaving, what is the velocity when there is a lot of rain. Say in Sahyadri, it rains a lot. So till what level the streams can flow, then what should be the correct techniques for having stone walls or having stone bunds. And these local people, they have been experiencing the land since their childhood. So they have very good observations, they have very good understanding of the area. And that is what we precisely do, that we understand the land with them so that we don't fail in our planning. So like almost 95 to 97% of planning that we do is actually foolproof, because we understand the local ecosystem well through various seasons. So we will go there in monsoon, we will go there in summer, we will go there in winters, and understand how the climate changes so that we can also create our response for say plantations, then for the even wind direction, because that is also important to know. So where to have the wind breaks and how to have them, at what maybe frequency to have wind breaks, what kind of wind breaks maybe, like shrubs, trees, hedges, or what kind of plantation to use. So being based on the basically the local understanding and the local people's understanding, so it creates a good buffer for our planning, and the challenges become low. So though we have faced few challenges, like some of our bunds could get washed off and all those things, but we have always considered that as a part of our tolerance, say. So maybe 5% of the tolerance we always keep, that maybe when we do plantation, there could be survival rate of 80 to 90%. So something like that we always factor in. So I would say we have safeguarded ourselves because of nature's observations, basically.
The prior study of that environment is
That's
very
important.
much guided to. Yes, correct. Okay, thank you. That explains a lot. Thanks.
Yes, anyone, please, they can just ask their questions. Prachi ma'am, Trupti ma'am.
No, ma'am.
So I think we can stop them.
Yeah, we can. I think people even can send
Email on
their questions on email. Can you, Mansi, please put your email ID, yours as well as ours, on chat? Mansi, Randru, you also.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, ma'am. They can email us in advance, and
Yeah.
we will answer their questions.
Sure.
So,
Only one question, ma'am.
Yes.
Prachi.
So, what is the probable timing for the development of any of your site, though it may be the small one? Is it more than a year?
So our observation spans over a year, but the planning stage could be between 3 to 4 months, depending on the scale. So if it is a small scale project, then 3 to 4 months is the planning duration. But for large area projects, then it spans beyond 1 year. Like for Yavatmal project, now we have been working with them since 2016. So it's a long duration project. Or for our forest restoration project, we have been working there since 2006. So there are some projects which span over a longer duration, but majority of the projects are completed within, say, 6 months to 1 year time.
Okay. And one more query: if one person is developing his land considering all the ecological parameters and everything, and the surrounding area is not considering the same, they may be, if it's a small plots or something has been developed. So will it have it any impact on the ecologically restored land or area?
Yes, sometimes it does have. Like, for example, if there are very different activities that are happening in the surrounding, like, say, using a lot of fertilizers or using a lot of chemical pesticides, then that can have a negative impact on restored land, because if the flows start from that other area and which are bringing in the chemical pesticides, then it can negatively impact the area. But its positive impacts are like being restored. It also has some assimilative capacity. So there could be some self-purifying capacity in that restored land, and which will actually benefit the other lands. So it's always from both the sides. But it depends on what is the scale of the, like, what is the area of the land and what are the surrounding activities that are happening.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, welcome.
yes. So, before we conclude, I would like to extend our sincere gratitude to our esteemed guest for today's uh, presentation and your invaluable insight, expertise, and time. Ma'am, your contributions have enriched our discussion and enhanced the overall experience of all the GWNN members and other than the GWNN members who have participated and for their time. So thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
And another announcement is I would like to request to confirm if any of our members would like to host the next monthly meeting. So kindly email us in advance. And to be a GWNN member, please kindly visit our website and register on our GWNN website and become our registered GWNN member. So once again, thank you all the members for your time and dedication and making it all happen. So see you in the next meeting. And with this, I conclude the meeting and thank you once again. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thanks.
Okay. Bye.
Thanks.